Well, it's finally happening. After years of waiting for Clint Barton to get to be the main character for a change, the most lovable Avenger is getting his own television series on Disney+. Unfortunately, like everything Marvel these days, we still have a long wait until we actually get to see it. Luckily, there are a ton of clues pointing to the plot of the series, the villains it will feature, and how it will deal with the legacy of the Hawkeye name. The biggest clue to the tone and plot of Disney Plus's take on Hawkeye goes back to the character's most popular comic book run. See, many writers had taken on Hawkeye over the years, but it was a bit of a struggle. Back in the 60s, the idea of a superhero who used a bow and arrow wasn't ridiculous at all. While heroes like Iron Man and Black Widow aged pretty well over the years, a costumed archer got harder and harder to sell. While he was always pretty popular as a member of the Avengers, his solo career never really took off. And then came Matt Fraction's beloved run on the character. Instead of trying to make the whole bow and arrow hero thing gritty and real, Fraction had no problem making fun of how punchable Hawkeye would be in comparison to the other Avengers. He is constantly going to the hospital as he deals with low-level tracksuit-wearing gangsters, mid-level villains, and his own human limitations. Within this framework, Matt Fraction and an extremely talented group of artists, mainly David Aja, crafted a fantastic story full of heart, spy intrigue, and superhero action. The other big stars of the Fraction run are Barton's young protege and his favorite four-legged friend. The other Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, may have made her debut in the pages of Young Avengers, but she really came into her own in this series. The younger Hawkeye was equal parts Clint's sidekick and his voice of reason. She frequently cut through his antics and provided plenty of epic archery action herself. Seeing as Hailee Steinfeld has been cast as Bishop, it's safe to assume that we'll see plenty of this dynamic in the series. Now, while many thought that the scene where Barton taught his daughter Lila to shoot was pointing towards her becoming the younger Hawkeye, it looks like they aren't going in that direction. We don't yet know how they will incorporate Bishop into the MCU, but my guess is that it will have something to do with Barton's Ronin days. We'll get back to that later. For now, though, let's focus on the real star of the Fraction run. One that is the single greatest character to be confirmed in the series. That is, of course, Lucky the Pizza Dog. This dog helped Barton out of a jam with the Tracksuit Mafia only for him to get terribly hurt for the assist. Clint then went to extreme lengths to get Lucky to a vet where he was saved. He then became a pet and recurring character of Clint and Kate's adventures. But none of that matters quite as much as the portrayal of Clint himself. It will likely blend the single sad sack from Fraction's run with the family man turned assassin turned family man again from the MCU. It will showcase Clint's humanity, his vulnerability, and ultimately what makes him worthy of being a hero. That and the Fraction run made great use of Clint's archery skills, featuring a lot of cool shots, trick arrows, and superhero-worthy talents with a bow. Now, the only thing more important than the hero in a superhero show is who the superhero is going to punch. Okay, obviously in this case, shoot arrows at. Luckily, we know more about the casting of this show than we do most of the other Disney Plus projects. I mean, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are both coming out pretty soon, and no one really knows what either of those two are about. Probably the biggest name in Hawkeye isn't one that's recognizable in the MCU yet, but will be at some point to be announced. That's because that freaking Black Widow movie's been delayed like 30 times, keeping Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova from making her grand debut. By all accounts, it seems like the Black Widow film will actually set Pugh up as the next super spy to take Natasha's place. I'm not sure how Clint will react to seeing his bestie's replacement, but he'll have to get used to it because she's gonna be in his show. The rumor is that she'll also be appearing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but like I said, we still don't know anything about it. At this point, it'll be like 2035 before we get to see Sam take up that shield. I'm so sick of COVID! I want to leave my house! I want to go out! I want to see my friends! I want to celebrate Christmas! Sorry about that. While Yelena Belova will point us to the future of the MCU, Hawkeye will also look to the past. Better Call Saul actor Tony Dalton will be in the series as Jack Duquesne, aka the Swordsman. This character in the comics is the one who trained Hawkeye and acts as a sort of father figure to the guy. Now, if you've seen Dalton's terrifying Lalo from Better Call Saul, you might be wondering why anyone would cast him as a nice mentor figure. Well, the swordsman has appeared as both a hero and villain over his long history in Marvel Comics, including the recent Empire event. Now, about those arrows I promised would be shot at a bad guy, one of those very villains is none other than Kazi the Clown. This quiet assassin follows in the footsteps of the Joker, Pennywise, and, the worst of the bunch, Ronald McDonald, by continuing the proud work of being a creepy, brutal clown monster. His terrifying presence will likely be balanced out by the tracksuit Draculas, the gang in Hawkeye's Mad Fraction neighborhood. Rounding out the cast are more than a few surprises. A supporting character in the Daredevil series, Echo, will feature in Hawkeye, played by newcomer Alaqua Cox. This deaf martial artist superhero will be a great addition to the MCU. I'm also definitely holding out hope that she provides an opening for Charlie Cox's Daredevil to return for more action. Finally, veteran actress Vera Farmiga will play Kate Bishop's mom, and Fargo's Zahn McClarnon will play Echo's dad. They will, of course, join Jeremy Renner and Linda Cardellini as Clint and Laura Barton. Talk about an all-star cast, right? So let's take all of these plot details and mix them together to try and figure out what the series will actually be about. Now let's start with where we left old Clint Barton. Avengers Endgame put the poor guy through the ringer as he lost his entire family in the first few seconds of the film. After participating in a huge battle for the fate of half the galaxy, his family was returned to him as if nothing happened. That is quite a lot for the series to unpack alone. My guess is that the series will at least partially take place after the snap during the beginning of his Ronin days. This would mesh with the down-on-his-luck Clint from the comics. This Clint could be the one who meets Kate Bishop and takes on those tracksuit guys. The swordsman could then return to his life and push Clint into darker territory than Kate and poor Pizza Dog want to follow. It could be revealed that the swordsman was Clint's partner while he was ninjaing all over the world. Now that his wife and kids are back, Clint may be ready to retire again, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the world agrees. His past could catch up to him as the tracksuit Draculas hire the clown to track him down while the swordsman pressures him to continue his Ronin. He would then have to enlist the help of Kate Bishop again to help him deal with these threats. This will likely lead to a big team-up that shows the new Hawkeye teaming up with Echo and the new Black Widow, hinting at cool things in the future. The series will end with Clint defeating the bad guys and returning to his family to finally retire for the last time. And then we'll see Kate Bishop and Lucky go on for new adventures in the MCU with Black Widow and Echo. I mean, we gotta have a season 2, right? Alright, there's everything we know so far about Hawkeye. If you have your own thoughts on the series or want to see more content about the Disney Plus Marvel shows, drop us a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe for more from ScreenRant.